The crystal spires of the Galactic Council chamber hummed with nervous energy as 12 different alien species gathered for an emergency session. At the center of the massive room, a holographic display showed the twisted remains of what had once been monitoring station Theta 7. The wreckage spun slowly in the void of space, its metal hull torn open like a flower. Commander Vextal stood before the assembly, his 4 eyes blinking one after another as he spoke. His blue skin seemed to glow under the chamber's soft lights. The primitive vessel came from nowhere, he reported, his voice carrying a slight tremor. Our sensors detected no weapons, no hostile intent. Yet it completely destroyed our station. The assembled representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Some had tentacles that curled with worry, others had crystalline bodies that chimed softly with anxiety. The destruction of a council monitoring station was serious business. Council Prime Zeftar rose from his seat at the center of the chamber. His tall, crystal body caught the light and threw rainbow patterns across the walls. When he moved, his entire form made gentle musical sounds. Our analysis shows the collision was accidental, he announced. The vessel appears to be some kind of crude exploration probe. A collective sigh of relief echoed through the chamber. Accidental contact was much better than an attack. Which system did it come from? Asked Councillor Hothmar, her slug-like body leaving a shimmering trail as she moved across her platform. Her voice was wet and bubbly, translated by the universal communicators they all wore. Sol 3, Vextal replied, manipulating the holographic controls with his long fingers. The third planet orbiting a yellow star. Our preliminary scans show a Class C primitive civilization. The chamber filled with happy chittering sounds, harmonic tones, and relieved clicking. Every species present knew what Class C meant. It was the official designation for herbivorous, peaceful species that posed no threat to anyone. They were usually quite useful as farmers or domestic workers once they learned proper galactic customs. Their biology is interesting, Zeftar continued, changing the holographic display to show images of humans walking around their cities. The aliens leaned forward to study these new creatures. Bipedal mammals, average height about 2 meters. They have forward-facing eyes, which is unusual, but they appear completely harmless. The Council's chief xenobiologist, a spider-like creature named Kliktar, scuttled closer to the display. Her 8 legs moved in perfect rhythm as she studied the human images. Small teeth, no natural weapons like claws or stingers, she observed. Relatively weak muscle structure. Definitely herbivorous in nature. The forward-facing eyes are strange for a prey species, noted another council member, a floating jellyfish-like being whose thoughts appeared as colored lights in his transparent body. Most plant-eaters have eyes on the sides of their heads to watch for predators. Perhaps they evolved from tree-dwelling ancestors, suggested Zeftar reasonably. Many species that live in forests develop binocular vision to judge distances while climbing. It would explain the eye placement. Kliktar nodded her bulbous head in agreement. That makes perfect sense. Tree dwellers often become quite docile once they move to ground level. No natural predators to worry about anymore. The discussion continued for several more minutes, with various council members offering their opinions about human biology and behavior. All of their observations pointed to the same conclusion. Humans were just another peaceful herbivore species, slightly more advanced than most but nothing special. I recommend we make formal first contact, Zeftar announced after the discussion died down. We should begin standard integration protocols immediately. This new species might prove very useful for our agricultural colonies. They appear to have good manual dexterity and seem reasonably intelligent. What about domestic service? Asked Hothmar, her eye stalks turning toward the human images. They look like they might be trainable for household work. Possibly, Zeftar agreed. We'll know more once we establish communication and begin cultural assessment. Their technology level suggests they're ready for basic galactic civilization concepts. The vote was completely unanimous, as most council votes were these days. 12 species, 12 votes in favor of contact. It was the way things had been for over 1,000 years of galactic peace. New species were discovered, evaluated, contacted, and integrated into the peaceful galactic community. It was a system that had never failed. Within hours of the vote, the diplomatic vessel Harmony's light was prepared for departure. The ship was beautiful, all curved lines and soft lighting, designed to appear as non-threatening as possible to primitive species. Its crew was carefully selected from the most peaceful and welcoming members of various species. Ambassador Rethvan, a senior Velnari diplomat, was chosen to lead the mission. His crystalline body produced soothing harmonic tones, and his species was known throughout the galaxy for their patience and kindness. If anyone could successfully integrate a new herbivore species, it was Rethvan. As the Harmony's light departed the Council Station and entered hyperspace, its crew was filled with excitement and anticipation. First contact missions were always special occasions, chances to welcome new friends into the galactic family. They had no way of knowing that they were about to encounter something that would change their understanding of the universe forever. The peaceful galaxy was about to meet humanity, and nothing would ever be the same again. Dr. Emily Watson adjusted her glasses nervously as she sat across from the alien delegation in the hastily constructed meeting chamber. The room had been built in just 3 weeks after the aliens had sent their message requesting a meeting place. Earth's governments had worked together faster than ever before to prepare for this historic moment. The human representatives had been chosen very carefully. Emily was a respected anthropologist who specialized in peaceful cultures. Next to her sat Dr. James Mitchell, a philosopher who had written books about nonviolence. Ambassador Helen Davies represented the United Nations, and she had spent her entire career working on peace treaties between nations. The humans wanted to make the best possible first impression on their new galactic neighbors. "We are deeply honored by your visit," Emily said slowly into the strange translation device the aliens had given them. The machine hummed softly as it converted her words into sounds the aliens could understand. "All of humanity welcomes this chance to join the galactic community." Ambassador Rethvan, the tall crystal being who led the alien group, made pleasant chiming sounds that the translator turned into words. "Your species shows great promise for peaceful cooperation. We look forward to learning about human culture and traditions." The cultural exchange began wonderfully. The humans shared recordings of their finest music, from classical symphonies to gentle folk songs. They showed paintings of beautiful landscapes and sculptures that celebrated the human form. They presented books of poetry that spoke of love, beauty, and the wonder of existence. The aliens seemed genuinely pleased with everything they saw and heard. Their translator devices hummed constantly as they asked questions about human art and philosophy. Everything was going exactly as the human diplomats had hoped. "This strategy game called chess is fascinating," Rethvan noted, his crystalline body glowing brighter with interest as he studied the board Emily had brought. "A mental exercise that requires planning and tactical thinking." Dr. James Mitchell laughed cheerfully. "Oh, that's nothing compared to our physical activities. Humans love sports and competitions. We have boxing, wrestling, martial arts, football, hockey. People get really excited watching others compete." The pleasant chiming sounds from the aliens suddenly stopped. The room became very quiet. Emily noticed that Rethvan's crystal body had grown dimmer, which she was beginning to recognize as a sign of concern. "Boxing?" Rethvan asked carefully. The word seemed to give the translation device trouble, producing strange clicking sounds. "It's a combat sport," James explained with enthusiasm, not noticing the aliens' growing discomfort. "Two people get in a ring and try to knock each other unconscious using only their fists. It's great entertainment. Millions of people watch boxing matches." The silence that followed stretched on for what felt like forever. Emily could see the other aliens in the delegation exchanging looks that seemed worried, though it was hard to read expressions on faces so different from human ones. "Perhaps we could show you some examples of our entertainment media," suggested another alien diplomat, a spider-like creature whose legs clicked nervously against the floor. Emily brightened and activated the holographic display system the aliens had provided. "Certainly. Here are some of our most popular movies and television shows." What happened next was a disaster, though Emily didn't realize it at first. The screen filled with scenes from action movies, war films, and adventure stories. Explosions lit up the display as soldiers charged across battlefields. Heroes fought against impossible odds, usually winning through violence and determination. Characters delivered stirring speeches about never surrendering and fighting to the death for their beliefs. The aliens watched in complete horror as humans cheered for warriors who killed dozens of enemies single-handedly. They saw movies where the heroes were celebrated for refusing to give up even when facing certain death. They watched humans treat concepts like victory or death and no retreat, no surrender as noble ideals rather than mental illness. "This is your entertainment," whispered Rethvan, his voice barely audible through the translator. His crystal body had become so dim it was almost transparent. "Our most popular genres," Emily confirmed proudly. "Action films, war movies, survival thrillers, superhero stories. Humans really love watching heroes overcome challenges through strength and determination." During a break in the presentations, Ambassador Davies' 8-year-old son Tommy came running into the chamber with several other diplomatic children. They had been playing in the next room while their parents worked. "Mom, can we play tag in here?" Tommy asked excitedly. "There's so much more space." Before anyone could object, the children began their game. One child was designated as it and began chasing the others. The other children scattered in all directions, hiding behind furniture and dodging around the adults. When the first child was caught, he immediately joined the hunt for the remaining players. The alien observers watched in stunned silence as human children practiced what looked exactly like pack hunting behavior. The children used strategy and teamwork, setting up ambushes and coordinating their movements to corner their prey. They showed no mercy to those they caught, immediately converting them into fellow hunters. "What exactly is the nature of your species?" Rethvan asked slowly, his voice filled with something that sounded like fear. Emily looked around the room, confused by the sudden change in atmosphere. The aliens all seemed frightened, though she couldn't understand why. The cultural exchange had been going so well just a few minutes ago. "We're just ordinary people," she said uncertainly. "Is something wrong?" Dr. Sarah Chen had no idea she was about to terrify the entire galactic community. The routine biological assessment was supposed to be simple, just basic scans to understand human physiology for medical purposes. She sat calmly in the examination chair while alien medical equipment hummed around her. "Fascinating bone density readings," noted Kliktar, the spider-like medical technician operating the scanner. Her 8 legs moved quickly across the control panel as data flowed across multiple screens. "These bones are much stronger than expected for a herbivore species." Cynthia Ray, the Velnari xenobiologist, studied the muscle scans with growing concern. Her crystalline body was pulsing with worried light patterns. "Look at these muscle attachment points. They're designed for explosive movement and incredible strength. This doesn't match our initial classification." Dr. Chen smiled pleasantly, unaware of the alarm she was causing. "Humans are pretty athletic. We evolved to be good runners and climbers." "But these forward-facing eyes," Cynthia Ray continued, her voice growing more distressed. "We assumed they were for depth perception while climbing trees. But this placement provides perfect stereoscopic vision for tracking moving targets. This is predator adaptation." Kliktar's mandibles clicked rapidly as she examined the dental scans. "The tooth structure is all wrong for herbivores. These pointed teeth called canines are clearly designed for tearing flesh, not chewing plants." "Oh, humans are omnivores," Dr. Chen explained cheerfully. "We eat both plants and meat. Actually, we can eat almost anything if we need to survive. Human digestive systems are very adaptable." The word meat seemed to hit the aliens like a physical blow. Cynthia Ray's crystal body went completely dark for a moment before flickering back to life with panicked light patterns. "Your species hunts other animals for food?" she asked in a whisper. "Well, mostly we raise livestock now," Chen said. "But yes, humans evolved as hunters. We were persistence hunters mainly. We'd chase animals over long distances until they collapsed from exhaustion, then kill them for food." The medical bay fell completely silent except for the humming of equipment. Every alien in the room stared at Dr. Chen as if she had just revealed she was a demon. "Persistence hunting," Kliktar repeated slowly, "is considered one of the most terrifying predation methods in known xenobiology." "Really?" Chen asked, genuinely surprised. "It's just efficient. Humans are really good at long-distance running. We can outrun almost any other animal on Earth over time." "But surely," Cynthia Ray said desperately, "your species has evolved beyond such primitive behaviors? You've developed peaceful civilization?" Chen pulled up a datapad and began accessing Earth's historical database. "Oh, we've definitely developed civilization. But we've mainly focused our competitive instincts on warfare instead of hunting. Would you like to see our military history?" What followed was a horror show that left the alien medical team speechless. The database contained thousands of years of human warfare, each conflict more sophisticated and deadly than the last. Humans had developed weapons for every possible type of combat. They had created military strategies, tactical doctrines, and warrior traditions that spanned millennia. "The Battle of Thermopylae," Chen read from one entry. 300 Spartan warriors held off an army of thousands. They fought until every single one was dead rather than surrender. They chose death over submission. Kliktar asked, her voice shaking with disbelief. "It's considered very honorable in human culture," Chen replied matter-of-factly. "Human military history is full of last stands, desperate defenses, and fighting against impossible odds. We call it courage." She continued scrolling through the database, showing battle after battle where humans had fought with incredible determination. Stories of soldiers continuing to fight with severe wounds, of civilians taking up arms to defend their homes, of military units that refused to retreat even when facing certain death. Here's an interesting case, Chen said, highlighting another entry. The Battle of Rorke's Drift. 150 British soldiers fought off 4,000 enemy warriors for 2 straight days. They were completely surrounded but never gave up. The aliens exchanged looks of pure terror. These weren't just predators, they were predators that refused to admit defeat under any circumstances. But the worst revelation came when they discovered humanity's healing abilities. Your cellular regeneration rates are extraordinary, Cynthia Ray observed, staring at the medical scans. You can recover from injuries that would kill most species. And according to these readings, you can continue fighting even while severely wounded. Adrenaline, Chen explained. When humans are in danger, our bodies release chemicals that block pain and increase physical performance. We've documented soldiers fighting effectively with broken bones, deep cuts, even missing limbs. The human body can push through almost anything when survival is at stake. Cynthia Ray's crystal form began making distressed harmonic sounds. You're telling us that humans are apex predators who refuse to surrender, can heal from fatal wounds, and become stronger when injured. That's a pretty dramatic way to put it, Chen laughed. But basically yes. Humans are survivors. We don't give up easily. The medical team fell silent again. They had just discovered that humanity wasn't just another peaceful herbivore species. They were dealing with nearly indestructible predators who treated warfare as an art form and considered dying in battle to be honorable. Clicktar was the first to speak, her voice barely audible. We need to inform the council immediately. Dr. Chen looked around at the frightened aliens with confusion. Is something wrong? Did I say something to upset you? But none of them answered. They were too busy trying to figure out how to tell the peaceful galactic community that they had just invited the most dangerous species in the known universe to join their civilization. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was held in complete secrecy. News of humanity's true nature had sent shock waves through every peaceful species in the Confederation. Representatives whispered nervously among themselves as they took their seats in the crystal chamber. They must be contained immediately, declared Council Prime Zeftar, his crystalline body pulsing with urgent light patterns. A species of apex predators cannot be allowed to spread throughout the galaxy unchecked. Councillor Meftun, whose aquatic form floated in a special tank, released a stream of worried bubbles. But their diplomatic team seems peaceful enough. Perhaps they have truly evolved beyond their violent nature. Impossible, Zeftar replied firmly. Predators are naturally deceptive. They appear harmless until they strike. We need to test their true nature before they can threaten our worlds. The plan that emerged was elegant in its simplicity. The Council would secretly hire the Sekthara pirates, the most feared raiders in known space, to attack a human vessel. When faced with superior firepower and professional warriors, the humans would surely surrender immediately, proving they were not the dangerous predators the medical report suggested. The Sekthara captain, a massive reptilian creature named Vorthake, accepted the contract eagerly. His 5 ships carried 500 of the galaxy's most vicious pirates. They would attack the human colony ship New Horizons, which carried only 200 civilians including families and children. It would be over in minutes. Captain Marcus Webb was reviewing supply inventories in his quarters when the proximity alarms began screaming throughout the New Horizons. The colony ship was 3 weeks out from Earth, carrying settlers to humanity's first interstellar colony. Webb had been looking forward to a peaceful retirement after this final voyage. 5 unknown vessels approaching fast, reported Lieutenant Kate Morgan from the bridge. Her voice was calm but tense. They're not responding to our communication attempts. Webb hurried to the bridge and studied the tactical display. 5 sleek warships were closing in on his lumbering colony vessel. When the first energy beam lanced across their bow as a warning shot, any doubt about their intentions vanished. All hands, battle stations, Webb announced over the ship's communication system. His voice carried the authority of someone who had served in 3 different wars before becoming a civilian captain. What happened next would have shocked the Galactic Council observers if they had understood what they were seeing. The human civilians did not panic or beg for mercy. Instead, they transformed into something the galaxy had never witnessed before. Children were quickly moved to the most protected areas of the ship while elderly colonists began converting cleaning supplies into explosive devices. Dr. Robert Hayes, a 70-year-old retired botanist, turned the hydroponics bay into a chemical weapons laboratory using nothing but plant fertilizers and basic chemistry knowledge. "Sir, we've got mining equipment that can be modified into weapons," reported Sergeant Lisa Parker, the ship's security chief. "The fabrication units can manufacture projectile ammunition if we reprogram them." "Do it," Webb ordered without hesitation. "And get me a count on everyone with military experience aboard." The answer was 63 veterans out of 200 civilians. Within 2 hours, they had organized the remaining passengers into effective combat units. Teachers became ammunition runners. Engineers became saboteurs. Retired grandparents became squad leaders. When the Sekthara pirates finally boarded the New Horizons, they expected to find terrified civilians begging for their lives. Instead, they walked into a carefully planned nightmare that would haunt their species for generations. The first boarding party found the corridors filled with improvised traps. Explosive devices made from ship components detonated as they advanced. Gravity generators had been reprogrammed to create crushing fields in strategic locations. Even the air itself had become a weapon. Chemical compounds from the hydroponics lab created choking clouds that forced the pirates to retreat. "They fight like demons," gasped one wounded pirate over the communication channel. "I shot one 3 times in the chest and he kept coming at me with a metal bar." The battle raged for 8 brutal hours. The humans used everything as weapons: furniture, tools, even pieces of torn metal from the ship's hull. They set up coordinated ambushes, used hit-and-run tactics, and showed absolutely no mercy to enemies who threatened their families. But the most terrifying thing about the humans was not their violence, it was their calculated compassion. Any pirate who surrendered was immediately given medical treatment and protection. Any enemy who laid down their weapons was treated with the same care as wounded humans. "Why?" asked a badly injured Sekthara pirate as Dr. Hayes bandaged his wounds. "Why heal your enemies?" Dr. Hayes looked up from his work with tired but kind eyes. "Because the fighting is over, son. Once you stop being a threat, you stop being an enemy." When the smoke finally cleared, the pirates had lost over 200 of their number. The New Horizons had suffered significant casualties but had achieved complete victory. The surviving pirates were treated as prisoners of war rather than criminals. The final image transmitted to the Secret Council observers showed Captain Webb personally carrying medical supplies to wounded pirates while human children brought them food and water. The Galactic Council watched these recordings in stunned silence. They had created a test to prove humans were not dangerous predators. Instead, they had discovered something far more terrifying: humans were perfect warriors who could choose when to show mercy. The galaxy would never be the same. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so quiet. For 3 long days, the representatives of 12 peaceful species had watched the recordings from the New Horizons battle over and over again. They studied every moment of the fight, trying to understand what they had witnessed. "They are not just warriors," whispered Council Prime Zeftar, his crystalline body flickering with fearful light patterns. "They are perfect warriors." The implications were staggering. Every species in the galactic community had evolved beyond warfare thousands of years ago. Their weapons were ceremonial decorations, their militaries did not exist, and their entire civilizations were built on the assumption that everyone in the galaxy shared their peaceful nature. But now they knew about humanity. "They could conquer us all," stated Councillor Vextal bluntly, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence with worry. "Any single human ship could devastate our homeworlds. We have no defenses against creatures like that." "So what do we do?" asked Meftun, releasing a stream of nervous bubbles in his tank. "How do we protect ourselves from apex predators who refuse to die?" The chamber fell silent again as the council members contemplated their impossible situation. They had invited humanity to join their peaceful community, not knowing they were welcoming the most dangerous species in known space. The answer came from an unexpected source. Admiral Thomas Richardson of the newly formed Terran Defense Corps requested permission to address the council. His scarred face appeared on the main communication screen, and his calm demeanor somehow made him seem even more frightening to the assembled aliens. "Honored representatives," Richardson began, his voice steady and professional. "We know you are afraid of us. Honestly, you should be. Humans are very, very good at warfare. We have been perfecting the art of combat for thousands of years." Several council members physically recoiled at his words, but Richardson continued speaking. "But here is what you do not understand about my species. We do not fight because we enjoy it. We fight because sometimes fighting is the only way to protect innocent people. The universe is not always a peaceful place, and somebody needs to stand guard against the darkness." He activated a holographic display that showed intelligence reports from across the galaxy. The council members leaned forward to study the data with growing alarm. 3 star systems attacked by unknown raiders in the past year, Richardson explained. 2 peaceful species driven almost to extinction by aggressive neighbors who wanted their resources. An entire trade route terrorized by pirates because no one was strong enough to stop them. Richardson paused to let the information sink in before continuing. You have had peace for so long that you have forgotten something important. Not everyone in the universe wants peace. Some creatures only understand strength and violence. The chamber filled with worried chittering and harmonic sounds as the council members discussed this revelation among themselves. They had been so focused on their fear of humanity that they had not considered the other threats lurking in the galaxy. Humanity offers our services as protectors, Richardson announced. We will guard your trade routes, defend your colonies, and deal with threats that you cannot handle yourselves. We ask only for partnership in return, not conquest or dominion. The debate that followed lasted for weeks. Some council members argued that hiring human warriors would be like making a deal with demons. Others pointed out that the unknown raiders and aggressive species were real threats that needed to be addressed. In the end, fear of the unknown dangers Richardson had identified outweighed their fear of humanity itself. The vote was close, but it passed. The Terran Defense Corps became the galaxy's first military organization in over 1,000 years. Human ships began patrolling trade routes that had been plagued by pirates for decades. Human marines protected alien colonies from raiders and hostile neighbors. Human advisors taught basic defensive tactics to species that had completely forgotten how to protect themselves. The results were immediate and dramatic. Pirate attacks dropped to almost zero within months. The aggressive species that had been terrorizing their peaceful neighbors suddenly found themselves facing opponents who actually fought back. Trade routes that had been dangerous for centuries became safe again. 6 months after the partnership began, Council Prime Zeftar stood in his office watching the training fields below. Commander Jessica Adams, a patient human instructor, was teaching a group of young Velnari recruits basic self-defense techniques. Remember, Adams told her alien students, the goal is not to become monsters. The goal is to be strong enough that the real monsters think twice before threatening innocent people. She demonstrated a defensive move that could disable an attacker without causing permanent harm. The young aliens practiced carefully, their crystalline bodies chiming with concentration as they learned to protect themselves for the first time in their species' history. The most dangerous species in the galaxy, Zeftar mused to his aide, watching the training session. And yet somehow we all sleep better at night knowing they are watching over us. Down in the training field, one of the young recruits asked Adams why humans were willing to risk their lives protecting aliens they barely knew. Adams smiled and looked up at the stars visible through the transparent dome above them. Because that's what Guardians do. We stand between the darkness and the light, so the light can continue to shine. As it turned out, the galaxy's most terrifying warriors were also its most noble protectors. And perhaps that was the most human thing of all, the ability to be both monster and hero, depending on what the situation required. The universe was a safer place with humanity standing guard.